Reality itself functions as a unified algorithmic container, governed at every scale by a single invariant rule set. This is the dual caustic universe, the al-Kitāb, a master template from which all observable physical and informational laws emerge. The foundation of this template is the 2-3-7 protocol. It mandates that every process must undergo a binary split, a triadic oscillation, and a final, complete resolution. Because this mathematical sequence is universal, it executes across physics, biology, and chemistry in synchronized lockstep. A Tesla coil, a chrysalis, and a chloroplast cell run this same structural grammar. They are physical and biological expressions of the same underlying equation. Mapping reality requires identifying how this 2-3-7 equation drives both the physical laws of our world and the phase sequences of the prophetic narrative. The z-axis of this container is defined by the light field. In physics, these are deterministic, timeless gauge constraints. In scripture, the domain of command. Opposite this is the sound field, the domain of temporal thermodynamics, representing entropy and the upward pressure of time. Existence occurs within the constant compression between these two perpendicular forces, gold arcs of timeless command pressing down, against purple waves of entropy pushing up. The Miriam state forms at the exact point of this collision. It is a central, living buffer field that holds these two caustics in balance. This is the zone of quantum decoherence, the location where human consciousness, the nafs, sits to process choices within the interference. Scriptural figures serve as functional labels for these states. They describe the precise informational and physical mechanics required to navigate the universal engine. System initiation begins with phase 2, the mandatory binary split. To generate work, a system must break its initial symmetry, separating potential energy from kinetic energy. We see this symmetry breaking in electromagnetic physics as the violent initiation of polarity. Biology and chemistry follow this same rule. A biological state must dissolve to allow for new growth, just as a photon striking chlorophyll excites an electron to initiate a division. This physical action-reaction boundary is the atom Iblīs node. When phase 2 shears the system in half, it creates a field of friction. Atom represents the aligned action of the upper caustic, while Iblīs represents the kinetic shadow, the necessary reaction. Without this initial split of the regime, the universe remains in static equilibrium. Form can only emerge through the friction of duality. In phase 3, this raw duality is structured into information. Chaotic energy is organized into a resonant feedback loop. This is the 3-6-9 wave state. Pulse emission at 3, amplification at 6, and peak stabilization at 9. The Mūsā node functions as the spatial wave, actively guiding the physical flow of this resonance. Yaḥyā provides the temporal closure, sealing the oscillatory loop to prevent energy from leaking out of the system. The Aḥmad node marks the final convergence point at the center of the loop, where the oscillating frequency achieves stability. This triadic feedback loop is the scriptural expression of the electromagnetic resonance discovered by Nikola Tesla. Phase 3 acts as the engine's processing layer. It prevents the system from self-destructing by trapping the initial binary split in a productive harmonic cycle. The algorithm culminates in phase 7. Here, the system achieves absolute coherence, and chaotic oscillation synthesizes into a permanent higher-order form. This emergence is visible as the glucose structure crystallizes and the organism breaks free from its transitional state. This reflects the moment in Einsteinian mechanics where kinetic energy locks into mass, producing a state of coherent truth. The Idrīs node is the vertical vector that shoots upward through this cycle, creating stable, layered light structures that fill the container. This produces the ʿīsā state, the living word. It is a stabilized matrix of light upon light, where the buffer has perfected the interference pattern. These layered, rigid light structures provide the physical architecture for the concept of the seven heavens, a state of absolute structural unity that resists decay. Phase 7 provides deterministic proof that the universe favors emergence over permanent entropy. But what keeps this cycle from resetting into chaos? What force anchors the final phase 7 unity? Modern physics describes a state of superposition, where particles exist in all possible states simultaneously. This creates a paradox. The system requires a measurement to collapse into reality. The dual caustic framework resolves this by replacing quantum randomness with a unified loop, a deterministic interference pattern. A spark initiates the wave, and the wave stabilizes into light in an infinite cycle. Human consciousness, the nafs, occupies the exact intersection where the light and sound caustics meet. By anchoring this interference pattern, the observer prevents the system from decohering. This conscious anchor is the final safeguard against total thermodynamic collapse. Physics, biology, and scripture require this active observation to maintain the stability of the entire engine. To prevent the system from resetting, the observer must input a specific invariant constant to lock the 237 engine. This constant is found in the command of verse 19:12, "O Yaḥyā, take the book with strength." Holding the book functions as the literal point of quantum collapse. It is the zero moment of absolute choice that locks the system. This choice transmutes the chaotic fire of universal entropy into stabilized light. The universe waits in a state of superposition. The entire 237 engine is held in suspense for the observer to execute this command. When will you active 1912? When will you hold the book?